Electrocast.
Hello and welcome to Abracadabra, Create What You Speak. I'm iLan Azoulai, your host, a spiritual mentor and a sound therapist. This is an empowerment program with guests from all over the world who will share their light and their gifts of art, knowledge and wisdom to inspire you to be the best version of yourself. Together, through the healing magic of sound and the power of words, we will look at everything from a spiritual lens. Well, hello. Welcome to Abracadabra. I'm iLan Azoulai. Hello, Gina Ann, co-host and wonderful to have you every single time.
Thank you.
How are you?
Good. Thank you for having me.
Of course.
It's always fun.
Of course, it's fun. It's fun. We're here this another live and bringing stories and of people from all over the world with an inspiring vibe. That's not like inspiring vibe. So we have today. We have a special treat. Our guest is Jenn from Japan. Now we haven't met her in Japan. We've met her in Vegas, actually. World places. And Jenn from Japan is an international poet and a performer. Her roots starts off in Japan, where she was born and raised into a military family just outside of Tokyo. She lived there for over 25 years. She traveled over 16 countries and 40 U.S. states. And then she moved to Las Vegas in 2018 to pursue her love of arts and performance. And just this year in 2022, she had a spiritual awakening. I remember when that happens. That's
many times when I've awakened and wanted to go back asleep.
wait, I'm dreaming that.
Yeah.
And now she mixes her art, a spoken word, her spiritual journey, and this is really what we're here to do, to inspire people and to continue and bring these stories so we can be inspired. And she continues to explore her art through her voice and her new love to dance. I bet it had to do with a spiritual awakening. But let's bring her in. And
there she is.
There she is. Hi, Jenn.
Jenn from Japan, but really from Vegas.
From Vegas.
Yes. For the past few years, yeah.
So wonderful to have you, Jenn. You know, it's we want to share with everybody how we met and where we met. We met in Vegas in an open mic, something that is I didn't experience here on the West Coast except for on the East Coast, but we met at the show of my son, and you came up in the middle of hip hop and rap music, and suddenly there is silence, and this personality walks onto the floor. I mean, you could notice her right before she even walked in. You know, It's like, and she walks up and she starts speaking and kind of singing speakingly, sort of your art.
Yeah.
So thank you for being here. So tell us and tell everybody, again, maybe a little more about yourself and how you started, because I mean, Japan is quite a culture and also a closed culture, right? Yeah. And to be where you are and to do what you're doing, that's really inspiring.
Yeah.
So
okay, so a little background.
Yes.
So I was you said a lot of the main points. I was a military kid. I grew up overseas in Japan. And I guess my roots for why I do poetry now, if I look back, I was a drama kid in high school. So I was into theater and acting, and that was kind of something that I still hold kind of in my heart. It's kind of one of those, goals and dreams I have is to, be in a movie. But that's kind of where it stemmed from. And then, poetry was kind of evolution of that, because it was from that to, like, I used to write all the time, journal entries, short stories, scripts, whatever. My mind was just like constantly, going. And then eventually it turned to poetry. love. I fell in love. So it was one of my beliefs at the touch of, well, one of the quotes I always live by was, at the touch of love, everyone becomes a poet. And so I think that's where it really and then it just, and after that, it just became a thing. So I was overseas in Japan, but I was on a military base. So I had the culture, I had a lot of Americans I was around, but then I also had the Japanese culture when I would leave. And so, yeah, that's kind of where it came from, is theater, and my love of just, I guess, getting my thoughts out of my head. That's kind of where it came from as far as my beginnings of why I started doing poetry.
Mhm.
Did you find that one of my writing teachers used to say that if it's something that you're afraid to talk about, you must write it. Do you feel that the writing gave you an avenue to express yourself, and if you didn't have writing, it would be more difficult to express yourself? Do you feel it was like an outlet to say what you couldn't
Um,
say otherwise?
yeah, I think I always kind of felt like a fish out of water.
Mm.
When I was younger, I remember I used to go talk to the counselor because I felt like I couldn't talk to anybody. So I used to talk to the counselor, and he used to tell me all the time, like, your feelings are valid. Like, I have to see a counselor, and I'm a counselor, just to have someone to speak to. Because I guess I felt like nobody understood how I was feeling, maybe because I kind of felt like my emotions were a little bit deeper than what was going on around me, trying to understand the world and where it was coming, so it was like, it just always felt like I was, I think I remember I said I was like a flower out of its pot, kind of
Yeah,
looking for another, I kind of grew out of one pot, and trying to find another place to plant myself. And 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 as sharing my feelings, I didn't mind talking about it either. I never really had a problem of expressing myself. So I think it's more for me about, I never had a problem talking about it. Writing about it was something that came about when I started to do things that were more personal to me. Like you said, when you're afraid to write about certain things, I think that's, I wrote about, there's a piece I did, 13. And that was the first piece I did, which had, really, I talked about something really personal to myself. And that was something I just kind of took a chance on, because I actually stopped writing. I doubted myself. And I ended up smoking a joint one day with some friends, and I was real high. And I was sitting there, and I was having this conversation, because they used to freestyle. So they were like, you got to freestyle, you got to write something. And I'm like, I don't freestyle. And I was like, I'm not gonna do that. And then they're like, well, what do you do? And then I was like, well, I write. And then that's kind of how it came back about. They kind of pushed me. They were like, well, write something, do something. And then 13 came out of me, and then it reopened me back up. It made me realize that my story is my own story, and there's no one else that can tell my story.
mm,
And I can compare myself to 50 other people, but I'll never be them. So I
exactly.
doubted myself because of, I kind of was looking at other people like, oh man, she's so good, and she's amazing. Or, I saw this performer, she was so raw, she was on stage, and she left her heart out on the stage. And I remember thinking to myself, like, oh my gosh, like, I'm not as good as her, or I'm not like her, but I'm never going to be like anybody else, which is something that of course came with time. But at that moment, it just shut me down. And
Yeah,
so, I'm really thankful for, I guess, friends or people around me that have kind of pushed me to, like, push through that fear, like you said, like, to just put it down on paper. And after that, it completely changed. Everything is like, for me as a writer, and being able
yeah,
to, like, be really more open about, just my experiences in life, or my imagination, or
yeah.
whatever, it really opened me up.
That's great.
Okay, Jen. So I want to give my experience of when you first walked on stage. So we're
Oh,
there to
okay.
support a tie, and
Yeah.
you walk on, and you had presence,
Yeah.
She still
and
has.
you have presence. I mean, you have presence. There, it's in the present tense, right? So
Yeah.
you walk on. All of a sudden, your voice opens up, which I feel I'm an inner child specialist, so I can see your inner child as how you grew up and your voice. You always were a strong speaker, but as soon as you spoke, I'm telling you, the stage and the audience got quiet. And then you come out with this sexually raw poetry. And I said, here is a poetic rapper.
Yeah.
And I got chills. And I'm like,
A
that's her
poetic
title.
rapper.
A
That's
poetic rapper. And we were drawn to you.
Yeah.
And so your voice and the sexualness was sensualness. It was all integrated. And it wasn't in the fact of, but you spoke from what I feel was your experience.
Yeah.
So you stood as an empowered woman and in your masculinity as well.
exactly.
So very, very taken aback by that. But they're in because you're a very strong woman. But there is such vulnerability and softness to you that's quite lovely that you have now integrated. Whether I believe you've had many spiritual awakenings, is what I felt from you. But this one was a bang. Okay.
Yeah.
So I think you are going to expand. Your writing is just your thoughts and feelings that and I think what got stuck was, oh my God, I'm not a writer. You are a writer. It's creative writing when you express your feelings. So this was my experience. I think you have many more things to do. And what I would like to add, just for other, teenagers, because I feel like you're going to be very impactful with the teenagers and young adults, as well as adults, is what gave you actually the courage to go on stage? Because that is the biggest fear for them. And I know you're a draw. I love it. We're all, we are all the same spiritual tribe and vibe. Okay. Because we're all drama. We all want actors and
You're drama.
yeah, I'm drama. I'm an actress too. No, listen, small town girl from Texas. I grew up with an alligator in the tank. I have 3 brothers, Sicilian, rough, right? But family was the core. So please, if you can share your first time and what
On
it felt like to
stage.
get on stage, because that's the biggest fear for most people and most children, teens, and adults, especially during school, because they don't feel like they fit in or they're afraid.
I think, gosh.
Go with your feelings instead of thinking
You know
about
what?
it.
I've never had a problem getting on stage. Now that I think about it, when I was a kid, I remember one of the early. Okay, so I've always been on stage. Now that I think about it, elementary, I was in choir. I did little plays, with the class. So, you do little plays and stuff. I remember after assemblies, I remember the assembly would end, our class would be leaving. I would run up on stage and just start singing a song, whatever song came to my head, because I just always kind of like
So were you supported at home? Did that come from a support from home or just within your inner being?
Inner being, because my family never knew. I think my family still hasn't seen me perform. I mean, I'm 37, and my family still hasn't seen me on stage.
Is that because of the culture or because of anything else?
No, I think I was just kind of nervous to share that side with people closest to me. It's easy to get up for me in front of strangers.
No, I was talking about the support of your family.
Oh,
was that
yeah.
Then not know the fact that your family doesn't know, is that cultural thing?
Oh no. No. That's more myself. That's all me.
I
mean, they know what I do, but they've never seen me. Like they know because they'll hear it or they'll see it. I've shared maybe like my dad, I'll send him videos. My mom's a little bit more, maybe for her, I think that's really, maybe it is like a culture thing. She's a lot more conservative, so I think she doesn't want to say certain things or hear certain things. But thankfully, my dad is like, I've had balance. So my dad's been like, do I have to get naked at these shows? I'm like, no. You don't have to get naked. I don't think we need to go that far.
Well, I
didn't get invited to that naked show.
Yeah, so that's how I was like, but I think I've had that balance in my life. My mom being really conservative, my dad not, so it provided me kind of both sides of that. But I just never kind of invited them just because it was like it was something that was like, I think I would be more nervous if they showed up than strangers, so it's
Totally. Totally agree with that. I'm better with strangers than my family because they're critical and they're going to make fun, and I don't want to see it.
And
Yeah, I
and
don't even. Yeah, I have to see them for the rest of my life.
Exactly.
I
I
can
was
leave the
listening.
strangers there.
Did becoming,
I
I
said,
know you're a mother, did that have or add any inspiration and empowering your own daughter and supporting her and her dreams?
Yeah. So
Really?
she's gonna be 2 next week,
Mm-hmm.
and I was in my mind. I had just thought like, I'm not gonna have kids. I was okay with this concept. I was like, if it happens, it happens. But I'm not chasing something unless I always look at it like if I have a partner and then we decide to do that. But I wasn't. I was never one of those people that was like, oh, one day I want to have a family, or I want to. I wasn't the white picket fence girl. I was always like, I want to get on a plane and go travel and explore and be an adventurer, and that was kind of my thing. And my mom always told me, when you have kids, like you're not going to be able to do the same things as you used to, because in the beginning, because you have to make sure that everything's taken care of with her first. So I think that kind of made me a little bit, it just made me kind of like, okay, well, I don't have to focus on that. And then my brother had a bunch of kids. So I was like, okay, I didn't have to. But after having her, yeah, man, like I feel like I have no excuse now. Like, I could have had 5 million excuses before, and I could have done so many different things, but now it's like with her, I just feel like I don't want to just tell her I don't want to tell her like to do things unless I did them myself. I want to live by example. So I don't want to tell her that she should, go after her dreams or do certain things if I didn't do that. If I didn't go out, or if I, don't let your dreams die, or certain things that like really just kind of I've lived by myself. And I'm like, you know what? Now it's really important for me to instill that with her, because I came from a military background. I could have worked for the military for the rest of my life. I could have done that. I could still live that life. I could absolutely live that life. Does
yeah,
it do anything for my spirit? No. That's why I left Japan, because it didn't. And I realized so many things happened for me to get to this space now. And even with her, because I don't, like I said, I just want the best for me and her. So
of
it
course,
makes me and inspires me to ensure that I go after that, whatever that means, whether it be love, career, whatever it is.
of
I just
course.
have to ensure that it's good for her too, because I know she'll be affected by whatever I'm around. So yeah, she's been an inspiration in that sense. That I don't have any excuses anymore. I have to make it happen for her and me. You know. So.
So as a kid yourself, growing up in a military environment, moving a lot, that was kind of hard to create sustainable relationships, I would assume, right? With kids, because you would move
Um.
every time and creating new friends, and how long will they last? Does that, the notion that, oh, we're going to start new friendship and oops, there you go, it's going to end again. How does that affected your relationships with
Um.
your adulthood?
So the mine was a little bit backwards, from the typical military families. Most military families, they do move. They're a lot move a lot, but my dad made it a point, because he was in his career where he can make certain choices, because
I
he was
see.
in the military for 34 years, so he was a boss in his, and so he was able to make a lot more decisions about where we were living, and so we were able to stay in Japan for so long, and that's really unheard of. People typically get a few years and they're gone, but my dad made it work to where he had us stable in one place. Like I was in one base probably for like only 17 years I was
Oh,
there.
Oh,
You know what I
wow.
mean? So
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay.
but on the opposite end of that, people did leave all the time. So I was the one who was
Oh,
always there,
so you were
and
the one that left
everyone had to
behind.
go.
It was
ah,
left
Yes,
behind.
so everybody had
Oh,
3 years,
wow.
4 years, maybe 6 years, like, and
Wow.
so I would have to like dating, it was like 3 years, the relationship is, and or friends. I kept in contact with friends. Social media has made that easier to keep in
Yeah.
contact. But for the most part, I was the one who was just always there. I
So
was
you
kind
so
of
you
the one.
developed you developed this skin of up. Somebody's leaving me again. Okay. A band,
Yeah.
like, okay, leaving me, leaving. Okay, I get that.
Did
I
that
get
Yeah.
that.
invoke some of your writing? And can you give us a sample of it or one of your writings?
Of just about the leaving or just
No,
that.
just
We're,
whatever
we're, we're-
strikes you.
well, we're going. I want us to hear something that you're
Yeah.
going to read, and then, or
Okay.
maybe, and I have a clip that I want to show.
Okay.
But
Okay.
before that, for whoever is joining now, we're having Jenn from Japan is here, and she is uh, a rapper, a poet rapper,
I say poetic
a
rapper is what
poetic
the
Rapper.
adjective
rapper.
I've
that came
never
up
heard
to
that.
me.
I love it.
You can have
You
it.
can have
Yeah.
Put it on
Okay.
the tab.
Yeah.
it.
10%. I'll give you 10%.
There you
I'll
go.
take it.
A poetic rapper,
take it.
and she's using her gift of words and love and art to express it through spoken words. And so we are here with her, and we're going to listen first. Do you want to play the clip first, or do you want to read something and then we'll play the clip?
Well, I can read this. This is I actually have this piece. So I've been on different journeys in my life. And we
Touche.
can probably talk more about it when after I say this. I went to jail. I had a bunch of weed in my car, just a snippet. And I thought making money, I was trying to do the easy way. There's no easy way in life. And so I ended up in Chicago and one of the worst jails in Cook County. And I'm thankful because I don't have a record. They dropped everything. I'm good to
Oh,
go.
great,
But
great.
when we were in there, you know what? I guess you're right. I have had multiple spiritual moments in my life.
Yes, I can.
Yeah, you're right.
Right.
Now that I'm
Yes, you
looking
have.
back, I've just had different kinds of. But yeah, you're right. Absolutely, there's been multiple moments of just where I was just you're in a cell, you're kind of stuck in your head. But I realized how much peace I had inside myself, and which really made me listen to what was happening around me. I was way more. I was connected. I was having dreams and really wild, just like in my mind, I would have these things. And so when we were in there, we would get the opportunity to leave like the tier, which is like the big area, to go to different places. I didn't care what it was. I would just go. And it was usually church groups or yoga or, stuff like that.
Mhm.
So one of the pieces I wrote, it's called intention. It was an angel word that I picked from, everybody got an angel word. We all picked a word, and they said, they wanted to take this word and whatever you felt from it. And me writing, I decided to write something. So this piece is called intention. When I was
All
when I
right.
was locked up, I wrote this.
What was it called?
Intention.
It's
Intention.
called
Oh, it's called
intention.
It's called intention. Okay.
Yeah. Mhm. Moving with purpose and thoughtfulness is exactly who I want to be. Taking responsibility for the good, but especially all the sin, for the truth will set me free. And I don't mean just from the confines I face presently, but from the confines within. To have freedom of mind from the weight of the world on my back, from the baggage I drag, from societal and familial expectations I've had. I will be free because I want and will live as me. I will be exactly who I'm supposed to be, my destiny. No matter the pressures that press on me, no matter the stresses that stress on me. I mean, what is greater than living honestly is who you want to be wholeheartedly, maintaining your integrity, especially in today's society. Because I shouldn't be ashamed of who I am or try to live a lie, but I'm only human. That fact I can't deny. So I've had my moments where I was more concerned with everyone else when I should have been more concerned with self. I've also searched for perfection like it was on some store's shelf, learning through life's lessons that it's just a word, a mythical state of being which is more unattainable and absurd. Because if you don't have love, honesty, and peace inside, you'll always feel rejection from the mirror's other side, a feeling I felt too many times before deep into my core. But I have evolved and grown at my own pace, understanding that life is a marathon, not a damn race, that I accept all my imperfections and I set myself free to live my life with intention as the truest and the most genuine version of me.
Yes.
This is one. Wow, this is the biggest theme of this that comes up that I heard is freedom, right?
Yeah.
As a
Well,
freedom,
that's
and
a
it's just like,
dichotomy. Freedom while you're in jail.
well, freedom while you're in jail. I mean,
Yeah.
sometimes it feels that we can find the freedom when we have a boundary that we can cross outside of the boundaries,
Yeah.
rather than have just everything like a vast boundaryless, and then uh, our mind puts us back into a construct.
A box,
Wow,
right? Yeah.
this is
I have a question because when you came out at the show in Vegas, you had a very strong sexual message. Where did that come from?
It was an accident. No,
Oh, no pun intended. No pun
yeah.
intended.
No, yeah. It started as I wrote this poem. It was gosh, I wrote it in Okinawa. I was in Okinawa for a little while in Japan. And I was at a barbecue, and this girl was sitting next to me, and she knew I wrote poetry. So she was sharing one of her poems with me. So this guy across the table, one of the friends, and he was just like, "Man, we're at a barbecue. We're supposed to be playing cards, or we're supposed to be, playing a game." He was like, "What are we reading poetry for?" And he kind of just made this, kind of like talking down about poetry. He was kind of in his mind about like poetry was only. He was probably thinking William Shakespeare, Edgar Allan Poe, like the, and
it was in
and
jail,
and I just
basically.
and I just had to tell him. I said, "Well, okay. Well, since you," I was like, "Don't be rude," because like he was kind of being a little. She was trying to genuinely share it with me, and I was like, you don't have to be rude. I was like, "Okay, so let me write something that you're interested about." I was like,
Mm.
let me show you that poetry can be anything you want it to be. And he was like joking around, and in his joke, he was like, "Okay, all right, well, D's nuts, sing him out," like, something really like, immature
Trying
or
to shock
whatever.
you.
Yeah. And I just started laughing, and he was like, "No, no, I'm just joking." I was like, "No, you said these nuts. So I'm going to write a poem about these nuts." So I wrote, I wrote a poem about sucking dick. And he was like, after I got done, I said, "Give me 10 minutes." So I wrote this poem, and it was only like a little bit of the poem. It was maybe half of it. I ended up finishing it later, but I wrote like half of it. And I was like, all right, I got some. You ready? I was like, "You ready?" And I read it to him. And he just looked, he got quiet. He looked at his friend. He was like, "Can you read it again? And can I record you?"
Wow.
Did he put a pillow on his lap?
Yeah. So he was like, I completely changed his whole thing about poetry. And that, to me, that's exactly where it started. It made me like, that's how I first wrote it. But sharing it on stage, I could say probably one times I was really afraid to get on stage, because I was like,
Right.
my DJ was like, "You got to read that." And I'm like, "I'm not reading that." And he was like, "If you don't read that, I'm going to, every time you talk, I'm going to cut you off with a noise. Like it's going to, like the He's like, "I'm not going to let you talk unless you read that poem." And I was like, it was my own open mic. I was the host of it, but I hadn't even done anything like that. So I'm like, "You really want me to read this? Like, oh my God, it's a bunch of men in here. Like, it's going to be, like," so I just took a deep breath, and I read the poem, and that was when it started. I was
That is
Fantastic. It
actually
great.
was fantastic.
surprisingly, yeah, everybody was super supportive. I mean, you had the men making the ad libs in the background. The women were like,
Yeah.
"Oh," and it was just, everybody was just like, "Yeah, we like it." And then and from there it just kept going. I realized that it was entertainment, and it was easy to connect, because who hasn't thought about sex, wanted to have sex, hasn't, but whatever, has done it, whatever people's, experiences. It was one that, it was more of it's strategic for me, because I realized people are drinking alcohol, people want to feel good. So I want to add to that. So
Great.
that's
And you
and I
are.
want people to remember my name. So
Wow.
it was just kind of one of those things that kind of evolved into like what you saw at Flow Friday. That's exactly what it was. It was just accumulation of just realizing that, I just want to make people feel good. So
This
yeah,
is
that's
this
where
is
it came
great.
from.
This is great. Thank you. So I want we have enough time. I want to show a clip 48, right?
Okay, yeah, yeah,
I will show a clip and we'll talk about 48, and then I want to
please,
talk about this project that we were talking about,
yeah,
stories from Jen, and then we'll show that clip as well. But I wanted to show
okay,
48, and then we can go from there. All right, so let's go. So for this, I'm going to remove you from here.
This is called First 48. This one's dedicated to y'all. Sexually, I want to be sexing you while you're sexing me. But see, actually, we've been fucking all day. My favorite way. You mentally fucked me. Now switch positions. Titty licking, you licking me. Hands gripping me while I'm sucking you. Tongue licks on you, lips kisses you. Round and round, in and out, out we make, overwhelmed, almost can't take, but my body yearns like it needs. My pussy fiends, and you're a pussy fiend. Pussy you're eating, pussy you're beating. Match made in Eden. Screaming, pushing, grinding, melting, sighing, breathing. Round and round, in and out your skin. My fingers dig in while my other fingers sin. You look down at me. Body shouts silently. I'm in pleasure. You're pleasuring. Fuck wedding rings, just more pleasuring. Deep diving in sync, no swim, drowning. He drowns, I'm drowning him. Dick slides out and in. Body tightening, sex heightening. Fear of heights, so I won't come down, but I will come on you, then you can come too. Round and round, in and out, I'm coming, I shout. You pull out my shooter, shots fired. First 48, you shot me dead tired. This is a true story. Dick inspired. Thank y'all so much. I thank y'all so much. Y'all can catch me at Jenn from Japan, JENNFROMJAPAN. Thank y'all. I love y'all.
Woo! See, it's
That's
powerful.
great. Okay.
Yeah, very visual.
You see, and you don't have. We just have to say that. Just your frequency, your vibration is just describing everything. You didn't have to do something with your body. You just had to say that, you know, and that's your presence. That's
That was the sensuality.
That was sensuality.
I have a question because I'm so curious. So you were in Japan. Do you speak Japanese?
少しで。私はジェニファーです。よろしくお願いします。
Yeah, that's very. It'd be if you
Yeah.
translated in that and you speak it in both. I think that would add to your repertoire.
Let me ask you something.
It would be great. Yeah, I don't speak it well enough to do a poem. I would definitely have to sit with somebody. But I think that would be great because I did start there. And that's why I left Japan, because I realized like my poetry was in English, and I knew if I wanted to share what I had to say, I wanted to do it in a place where it was either England or the United States. That's kind of those were my choice. I was like, okay, I can go to England, I can go to the United States, I can, because I've been to England before, but I was like, I knew realistically my family, I had family and friends in the US, and then I was like, you know what, Vegas. And I always wanted to go to Vegas, never been, and I just took a leap of faith and came to Vegas.
Well, I'm telling you, I think it would add to your. Honestly, if you could do a little bit of Japanese, because your name is from there, so even a little snippet of it in Japanese would be powerful.
So
I think I think that would be really cool too. Yeah.
Are there any of all your poems that you've written in English? Are there any that do not translate literally word by word to Japanese? Do you have to change the construct?
I think I'd have to do, because there's some things in Japanese that don't.
There's some things that just
so
don't
I'd have
exist.
to I'd probably just have to rewrite something, or take one of the pieces and maybe take a line or two, or kind of see what does translate, and then use that, kind of thing. Because I do have a friend. She's usually my translator. I send her anything I need done. Where if I'm like stuck on something, and she always helps me out. So I definitely want to add that, because I think it's, like you said, it was the culture I was raised in. So kind of an homage to them. Like, and then I'm actually Filipino. So I want to do something. Yeah. Tawagan mo ako. Yeah, my my mom is Filipino, so
My aunt was Filipino, so I was raised with pancit and
yeah. Oh yeah, my
lumpia,
mom. Yeah, she
pito.
all that. That's what I was raised on that. And my mom always says she hates it. She never really taught me how to speak. I can understand it. I understand like
Malakang
Tagalog
Gapepeko.
besides.
Do you know that?
I'm sorry.
Malakang Gapepeko?
Oh yeah, that part.
Yeah, that's with your poetry.
I'm swimming in the air here. I have no idea what I can just imagine just from the words and how she's saying stuff.
So funny. Yeah. But
yeah.
yeah. So yeah. Wait, what were we saying?
No.
See, she got we're getting warm. Malakang Gapepeko.
I don't know, Malanga, Magala, whatever. Anyway, so no, this is great.
I'll tell you afterwards.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
Something in those lines of. To say
I
so.
love you guys. You guys are great.
So, all right. So we have a few more minutes. No. I just want to get everything in because otherwise we can go forever. And
yeah, of course.
So you're working. You want to bring back a project. So before we continue, I just want to say to those who are joining, I want you to go check out Jenn. Here is her SoundCloud, and she's on YouTube also. The only thing on YouTube, you can just type Jenn from Japan, because I think your username is not Jenn from Japan. It's some weird, some of the weird text, weird URL, because you have to have a certain amount of subscribers.
Yeah.
But if you type in YouTube, Jenn from Japan, one word, you'll get Jenn. Same thing on Facebook and on SoundCloud as well, so you can hear the spoken word. What I like about what you do is you don't just speak it, but you have an accompaniment, like a musical accompaniment, just to it's like creating a contrast and supporting the lyrics, supporting the words. So like when you were talking about the climax, suddenly the pads, the music pad became stronger to signify the climax, right? So it's not only the words, but you have the sound, and this is really what I'm focused on majorly.
Sounds good to me.
Okay. About the sound and the power of our words, the power of the frequency, because each intention also has a frequency, each thought has a frequency. What we speak, how it is being presented, what place we're inhabiting within ourselves when we speak or create an intention. So what I noticed, this is something I really like, is this music accompaniment that is creating support for the words and bringing them up, right? So I want to talk about this project that you're wanting to bring back up, and you call it Stories with Jenn, right?
Yeah.
And Stories with Jenn, and that's really tell us about this project, and then I want to show this clip of stories from Jenn. With Jenn.
Yeah, so the concept, the videographer who shot that was actually a friend of mine from Japan. Shout out to Renato. He's in Okinawa. He's actually Brazilian and Japanese.
Great cinematographer, I have to tell you that.
He's amazing.
Yeah, great shooting. So.
I mean, he did that all that was him by himself. Like,
wow.
I mean, it was amazing. Because he came to Vegas, and I had this idea that I wanted to do. I was like, hey, I want to do this cool like thing where we interview people and just kind of like, there's some amazing inspirational people that we meet on a daily basis. But usually you don't hear about these people unless they're like making millions, or they have 1 million followers, or they're doing something to where somebody finds out, or, so I was like, I really wanted to just showcase some amazing like people I met in Vegas or in other places, but because I was in Vegas, and we came across a friend of mine. He was doing amazing. He's still doing amazing things. I'd probably have to redo his episode because he completely does something different now, because that's the kind of person he is. But it was just the concept of being able to like share my stories of like these amazing people and share them with the world, because they shouldn't have to wait until because they have a story within themselves, or you know what I mean? Like, I just
feel like you. I mean, you're here. We're doing the same program, bringing your story and bringing your inspiration to everybody else. So this is wonderful.
It's about community unity, supporting one another of our arts and crafts and our humanism. For me,
Yeah.
that's what spirituality actually is,
Yes.
humanism.
Yeah.
Yeah. I even met this homeless guy, and he was like playing the guitar, and I have footage of him, like I plan on sharing eventually. But it's same thing. Like he had this amazing story, and I sat with him on the floor in front of a Family Dollar for about an hour, just
Oh
Oh,
talking.
wow.
wonderful.
And he shared his story, and he also shared a song, and I was like, can I share your story? And so I do still want to do that for him, but COVID had happened, and there were things, so it really kind of, threw everything off kind of whack for a little bit. But now that I'm in a better space, and now with what happened to me, the spiritual kind of thing that I went through I went to a drum circle, my first one,
Hmm.
and so I just came around to the space of like, yeah, I need to bring it back, because because it's important. It's something that really means
Yeah.
something to me.
Well, can't wait to see the clip.
So we're going to show a clip of that clip, because that clip is about 10 minutes, and
Yeah,
we
it's pretty
want,
long.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
pretty long. So we're going to show the beginning of the clip, and
Okay.
you can find it on Jen's YouTube channel and on our Facebook, and then we'll touch back about that clip again. So let's take a look at that.
Won't you dance with me? Find a place and lose it. You can do it. Won't you dance with me? Move your feet and feel it in the space between. You gotta give yourself a moment. Let your body be. Downtown we let it go. Sunset high and our bodies low. Blood rush in a hazy glow. My hands, your bones. Loose up, we break the scene. One step deep as you fall to me. Hot clap, we skip the beat. From 1, 2, 3. Don't you stop the music, play and do it. Won't you dance with me? Find a place and lose it. You can do it. Won't you dance with me?
I love people, so this project focuses on bringing people's story to life. There's so much inspiration and goodness around us, and sometimes life distracts us from noticing it. We want to connect one another through their experiences in their own words, and we want you to come on this journey with us. We're just starting out, and we don't know exactly where this will go, but we know whatever we get, it will be beautiful. So let's experience these moments together.
Beautiful.
So this is a taste of it. Then you're going into you're talking to the guy right after that. It's really inspiring to watch it. So I invite everybody to go and check out Jenn. It's so wonderful to have you here. It's really great, really inspiring.
Oh,
really
I
grateful that
appreciate
you joined in. And what is as we're coming to an inspiration words, maybe an experience or an inspiration, something for whoever is watching, whether there are teenagers, whether there are older, I'm saying older like us, it's like older.
Speak for yourself.
So
Puta, queremos.
oh,
Ya, puta.
so what are you what can you leave us with, Jenn?
Man, I think
Not to put you on the
first and
spot,
foremost, don't be so hard on yourself. You got to grant yourself grace. I think too many people, have so much self-doubt, or they put themselves down, and they give the world more grace than they give themselves, and I don't think that's right. I think we definitely
Yeah.
need to change that within ourselves. We need to change that voice, and really, to do that, I think the only way to do that is to be honest about who that self is, and live your truth, and and don't give up on the things you really want to do and try, whatever that is. Like I think one of my things is, like, I loved Indiana Jones and stuff like that. I'm like an archaeologist. I always wanted to be an archaeologist and stuff, and it's still something that kind of like is in my heart, that I know that eventually I'll be able to, I'll make some digs somewhere eventually in life. But the point is not to
What you
give up
still
on those
making
things
Digs.
that you love, and that you want to go after, and don't let the world, kind of take that away from you, or the people in your life, because they don't believe in it, because it's not for them. Everybody's journey is different, and if you allow someone else to kind of tell you or, stop you, you're going to end up being miserable for it, because I've
That's
done
their
that.
right.
story.
Yeah, that's
That's
their
right.
story. Their experience might have taken them down a different path than your own. Even, even if you do the same thing, but it still doesn't mean that's your path and your journey. So you
Yeah.
kind of got to stay
Thank,
true to self. Yeah.
thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. Thank you so much. Any
Yeah.
last
Jen,
words?
just a pleasure. We're
Yeah.
just going to support one another on all our
Yeah.
social networks, and can't wait to go to the naked show. I mean, any show you have next.
I need to
We'll
work
share
on
some
that. Naked show in
adobo.
Vegas.
All right. We have an excuse
Yeah.
to come back. I love a
Exactly.
beautiful excuse.
Yeah.
Thank
Well,
you.
Yeah.
And you're
thank you.
welcome
No,
here too in the South
Oh,
Bay.
Absolutely.
thank you.
Absolutely.
I appreciate that so much. Thank you guys for just seeing something in me, and thank you for your willingness to just connect and even just to share your message with me. So thank you.
Yes. You're welcome. Thank you. Thank
Thank
you.
you,
And for
Jen.
everybody who is watching, this is Abracadabra. Create what you speak, literally and figuratively. Gina Ann, I'm iLan Azoulai. Remember that I can't judge yourself about something you've done 5 years ago or a year ago, because you are a different person. You can look at that from the eyes of today and just, as Jen pointed out, be compassionate with yourself, be compassionate with others, create stories and share. Thank you so much for being here. Have a wonderful anything that you want, and we'll see you soon.
Jen.